and good afternoon to everyone in the rest of the country. I'd like to first introduce who Canon Information Imaging Solutions is. Most people are familiar with Canon. They remember our cameras and printers and copiers, but they don't recognize the fact that we have a software division.
Hey,
That's
Peter.
Canon Information Imaging Solutions.
Hey, Peter, can I
Yes.
just have you put it to a full screen there, just so they can see it a little better? Sorry.
Ah, yes. Thank you for reminding me, Brooke.
No problem. Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, that's better.
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
And so Canon, with the Canon Information Imaging Solutions, we're the software division of Canon. And what we have done is taken Canon's digital imaging technology, which we've been famous for many, many years around the globe, and have developed solutions for our customers. And what you're going to see today is our AP automation solution integrated with JDE Edwards. Before that, I'd like to at least lay some groundwork here on the next couple of slides on the rest of the presentation, and that is out of 4 surveys, independent surveys that were taken, the following information was derived as far as the current state of financial operations across all organizations. First of all, 75% of all companies lack automated invoice processing systems, which is probably not a surprise to a lot of people because a lot of people are on this webinar today. Also, 60% of the AP processing cost is in labor. So when you look at the AP function, most of the cost of the AP function is in the labor that is entering invoices into the system in a manual basis. And the number one time-consuming function, of course, in an organization is AP, even above tax and audit reporting. And only 44% of businesses today pay all invoices on time, which is an extremely low number, and is a result of not having an automated process for AP automation. So going from there, the importance of data is extremely important. In a non-automated AP environment, key data is unavailable. So when you look at this situation where companies have said that 81% of their businesses say that data is critical to the function, if they're in a manual process for AP processing, then that data is not available to them, at least not in a current real-time environment. And data availability is critical to finance for the following reasons. Forecasting and budgeting and planning, as you can see, requires that data. 70% is the highest mentioned in the survey that was done by IOFM. But also handling invoice exceptions, finance and procurement collaboration, developing payment strategies, enhancing supplier management, and cash management. All of these requirements require a heavy use of data. And if that data is not available, then it becomes an issue across the organization in finance being able to provide this information to the rest of the company. But transforming AP into a strategic business center as opposed to a cost center is what automation frees for value time added activities. So contract compliance, mitigating compliance issues, rationalizing supplier spend, managing accruals and budgets, and forecasting and cash management, all are now part of the AP organization's ability to now participate in and to provide these value-added activities to the rest of the organization because the data is now available through its automated process. So then I'm going to turn it over to Tom, who's going to talk about
Peter, I appreciate that. So just let me know, everybody, when you can see my screen. Brooke, let me know if it's okay. Hello? Is anybody home?
Well, I am, Tom. I don't know about the rest.
Well, I don't know if, can you see my screen, Peter?
Yes, it's good, Tom.
Okay, thanks so much. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to explain, while Canon is going to provide us with the automation services and also integration services from their product into JDE Edwards, I want to explain that JD Edwards also has this thing called Orchestrator and now notifications. And I'd like to explain how do those help augment your integrations and your other software that you might have for your organization. And the first thing I'd like to start out with is, if you notice, it is not any longer called the Internet of Things Orchestrator. While yes, it does interface with Internet of Things, and yes, it does integrate into JD Edwards, your Enterprise One application, the Orchestrator is much more than that now. It is both an inbound and outbound REST-based type of integration platform that can not only talk to things within Oracle, but it can talk to other software applications and third-party systems that you may employ within your organization. More importantly, Orchestrator helps you guard your data, and it makes sure that data movements back and forth between your systems is accurate, current, and consistent. The other thing is, Orchestrator has been enhanced now that it is starting to become more of a digital mesh type of technology, in that it's helping organizations automate some tedious, error-prone type of processes that they may have. Now, I said that the Orchestrator now embeds a notification process, and that's great because now you can collaborate both internally and externally of your organization, and you can start sending messages to other people, customers, vendors, whatever, to give them relevant information or tell them to act upon certain things. And if you notice the last line, you could use it for a myriad of things, so it's more than just what I've spoken to. It really is that catalyst to bring your organization into the digital age and to help you and your organization succeed. So now, how do you get the Orchestrator, right? Well, the Orchestrator is now delivered within the tool set of JD Edwards. It is considered a UDO, user-defined object. It is part of the tools releases, so you don't need to license anything. You don't need to buy it like you did 4 or 5 years ago. It comes with the system. However, the caveat to that is you can only utilize the Orchestrator for those applications, i.e. the modules that you're licensed to. But the bottom line is you get it for nothing. And not only do you get the Orchestrator, you get the Orchestrator Studio, which I'll show you in a minute, which is the front end for your users to become digital developers and start creating their own orchestrations. And last but not least, you'll see that there's metrics not only just for the user and how they consume it, but also for your connected devices and what's going on with those within your organization. So when you think about the Orchestrator now, this is the Orchestrator Studio. This is the landing page. And if you notice on the left, you have notifications, and on next to that are orchestrations. But then on the right-hand side, notice what you can do. You can link to service requests. You can cross-reference data and items. You can establish various whitelists, and you can set up rules within your orchestrations so that certain information, certain data acts a certain way, goes a certain place, etc., etc. So if I were to say to myself, okay, let me go into orchestrations, let me see what I need to do. When I click on the tool side, I see that not only do I have an orchestration client in the upper left, I also have the associated JD Edwards Enterprise One environment that those orchestrations are tied to. And within the studio, I have a way that I can monitor all my orchestrations, see how they're going. I have a way where I can import data in files and map those to certain orchestrations. I have the ability to connect via REST, via SOAP, via other services, and create those quote-unquote links. And I also have the ability to say, when do I want these things to happen? Do I want them to happen once a day, once a week, twice a day? Do I want them to, occur once a quarter? I can set up my own schedules. Now, when I get into an orchestrator, it's a very user-friendly GUI interface. I can see all my orchestrations going down the left-hand side of the screen. If I highlight an orchestration, I get a nice little Visio diagram of exactly what it is. And then in the upper right-hand side, if I decide to manage and maintain that orchestration, I literally now can drill down into it, and I can see all the inputs, and I can see all of the, data, where I'm going to get it from, and the system values. And if I highlight a row on the right-hand side, I can see all the different types of requests. The thing I'd like to point out to you on this page is, on the upper right-hand side of the screen, this is a user-defined object. This has the same capabilities as any other user-defined object, where you can create it for yourself, you can publish it, share it, reserve it. And notice in the center of the screen that it is considered a quote-unquote custom object. So you should do the right thing and make sure that you are creating them in a user-defined product code so that you can then manage them going forward. But again, very user-intuitive, just like any other UDO. Now, if I look at my JD Edwards client, notice like all other UDOs, I have to be granted access to do these things. So I have to be granted access to manage a notification or create a notification. I have to be granted access to create a composed page to do certain things. Now, notifications are a big part of orchestration now. And in the past, in your JDE instance, you would have a work center where you would go to see any kind of email message or any kind of message the system generated. Now, with the orchestrator, not only do you have notifications and analytics that are more robust and dynamic, you're able to create and look at these composed pages where you can see a watch list, you can get a message center, and again, tying this into Canon, you can get a message that says, hey, your batches are out there ready for approval. You can look at your orchestrations and get a health check of all your orchestrations on the right-hand side. So again, you as users are being able to manage and get notified and be able to see all of these things that are happening. So the latest and greatest orchestrator and notifications, if you look at the left-hand pane, you'll see that there's pre-text, post-text on the message. Review your company constants. Look at operating procedures, right? And notice now those things in blue, if you click on them, it can launch the application. You go exactly where you want to go. Well, what happens if I set a notification via email to somebody? I can even attach reports. And again, everything we talk about today, later today, with how Canon's going to integrate information, all of these things can be consumed within an orchestrator or notification and sent to people. All of this is done, why? Because people now are on the go, right? People now, they want to get a tablet, they want to get a smart device, they want to take things with them. Everything now with orchestrator notifications is portable. Things you're going to see with Canon and be able to access and understand, you're going to be able to take that with you. So now, today's webinar, what does it all mean? It means that you have some pre-configured notifications that you can get because you take the latest tools release. So if you're on tools 9.2.2.4, all of these notifications are available to you. You can use them as long as you license the purchasing system. You can use them as long as you have access to AP/AR and general ledger. You can access all of these. So again, no longer having to pay for things. So what is the type of thing I can do? Well, let's say that you have your accounts payable constants set up for manager approval. And what that means is that any batch created in AP Somebody has to go in and approve that batch. Well, wait a minute. I'm going to have Canon push in a bunch of invoices that they've scanned and received. And when they create that batch record with all of the vouchers and GL distribution in it, we don't want a manager to have to go ahead and approve it within JDE. Why? Because I'm going to do that approval process in Canon. My management team or people responsible have already approved those invoices to send them on their merry way. Well, if that's the case, I could create an orchestration that will go through and look for that particular user ID and batch, and that orchestrator can approve the batch and literally submit the posting job so that that batch gets posted. So what's the benefit of that? The benefit of that is you can still comply with your security. You can still have it in play, whereas people that are entering invoices and vouchers manually still have to go through an approval process. But yet those that are coming in via Canon can already be pre-approved via the orchestrator and posted. So just another example of how orchestrator notifications can help you within JD Edwards. So with that, I'm going to throw it back to you, Peter, and then you can continue on with the rest of your presentation.
Can you see my screen? I hope so.
Yeah, we're good to go.
That was great, Tom, because that really provided some insight as to how Orchestrator and Canon's AP automation solution utilizing Café One can work together. First of all, Canon is taking these invoices on the outside of JD Edwards and processing them, as you'll see in a moment, and then creating the vouchers automatically in JD Edwards, and then Orchestrator is taking over from that point forward. It's really a nice integration of the two. Let's talk about the Canon automated process overview for a second. Canon has developed the market-leading AP automation solution integrated with JD Edwards on the market today. It's a complete end-to-end solution. As you can see here to the left of your screen, you receive invoices in from suppliers. Those invoices can come in many different ways. They may come in by paper, in other words, through the US mail, or they may come in by email. They can even come in by fax, but typically paper and email are the two methods in which invoices are received by an organization. Those that come in by paper would need to be taken out of the envelope and, of course, scanned into a network folder that Canon will monitor, our solution will monitor, and as invoices are scanned into that network folder, we'll start the process of reviewing and verifying those specific invoices. On the email one, the Canon solution is able to monitor one or more email addresses. You may have multiple email addresses. When an email comes in, the Canon solution is able to go ahead and grab that email and extract the invoice off of that email or even off the body of the email and start the process. So bottom line is we have an electronic invoice that is now imported into the solution. And the first step that takes place is with our iris extract, which is the Canon OCR or optical character recognition technology. The iris extract now takes that invoice and extracts the data off of it. It's taking that extracted data and it's validating that information against the master data from JD Edwards that we have internalized into our solution on a day-to-day basis through a batch job. Or they can be run multiple times during the course of the day, but the fact of the matter is the master data resides in the Canon solution so that there's not a heavy load of traffic going back and forth between Canon and your JD Edwards solution or across your network. This way we're able to verify against real-time data and validate that information on that invoice against your master data. So for instance, if it's a PO-based invoice, we actually are accessing the open PO file and confirming that this PO actually matches a PO that you have open and that the information is correct, meaning the price, for instance, the totals, etc. You'll see in a moment what we're looking at and what we're verifying. We're taking that information and verifying, and if it's a PO-based invoice that came in through email, it actually could go directly from that step into generating a voucher within JD Edwards. because typically a GL code is already assigned at the purchasing level. If it's a non-PO invoice, then what will happen at this point in time is it'll now take that information and go to the next step for verification and approval. So at this point, someone will match that invoice, and we'll figure out what the GL code needs to do, and it'll be based upon a workflow that you've established for various types of invoices. That you may have multiple approval workflows, and the system is intelligent enough to determine which workflow to take, and there'll be approvers and there could be GL coders. And once the system, the invoice has gone through its approval in GL coding, and we have an approved and verified invoice, we would then generate the voucher within JDE Edwards. The enterprise imaging platform that you see on your right is the middleware component that does the communication from the OCR technology, or the extraction of the information from the invoice, to the JDE Edwards solution that you have. It can also have the GL coding and approval take place in there. It is up to you and what your business rules require, but you can do GL coding and approval, but either in the enterprise imaging platform or in the Iris extract, as we just talked about. Then the voucher is created. From that point on, AP takes over for the payment of that invoice, probably using Orchestrator in order to be able to do that. Let's look at the next step. Invoice data capture. So when the invoice comes in, the OCR technology is looking at key information on this invoice. It is a non-template based OCR technology. And this is important for you to realize, because what happens here is, because it's non-template based, you do not have to create a template for every supplier that you do business with that identifies how they have organized their invoice. Invoice number in the top left-hand corner, name on the right-hand corner, total on the bottom, whatever the case may be. When you have template-based OCR, then you're required to maintain those templates. And if a vendor changes that template in any way, shape, or form, you'll have a failure unless he notifies you that the change has been made. So having a non-template based OCR technology is extremely critical, and also to a huge advantage, because no matter where that information resides on that invoice, the OCR can find it. It is looking for key words. It's looking for words like invoice number or PO number. And those words can be those labels, I should say, can be in many different formats. Invoice number, it could be spelled out. It could be invoice hashtag number, as it shows on the invoice here. There's a database of all different variations that could possibly be put in for invoice number, or for date, or for totals, or for supplier, or what have you. So what you're seeing here is the system has extracted the various key master data information, and it's also not only extracted that information and validated against the PO, but it is also done some validation rules of totaling up the information on the invoice itself, so that you can make sure that the total agrees with each of the line items on that solution. But not only that, it is also validating on a per line item basis against the PO, the open PO, on a line for line basis. So you're doing not a single line PO, but also a multiple line PO. Invoice imaging display in JDE Edwards is what you're seeing here. Here's the voucher screen in JDE Edwards. Hopefully you can see that, okay? And on the right, you would see a representation of the invoice that is stored in the content repository. Now this image is put here by the Canon solution, and you can click on a link to see it, or you can have it open automatically, as this one did here. But not only can you see this directly from JDE Edwards, there's no requirement to go out to another content repository system in order to be able to see that invoice. You can do it all from within JDE Edwards. And not only that, as you'll see in a minute, you can also attach multiple documents along with that invoice, such as a packing slip or bill of lading or what have you. This is all empowered by the Café One capability of JDE Edwards today. Here's some related content. So you see the voucher here, but not only that, you see in the invoice, but you're seeing also multiple documents that have been downloaded and attached to this particular screen. so that with a click of the mouse, you can just see those particular documents. They'll open up for you. And also, it's at this point in time where you can have a drop-down menu where you can add comments and you can create tasks. So Canon's a great believer in transparency. We like to see comments everywhere we go, and we provide that capability for users to add comments at any point in time, and those comments follow that invoice through the entire process, where they would now be seen right here within the voucher screen within JD Edwards. You can share this information, by the way, by either emailing it, downloading it, checking it out, or detaching invoices. The content repository in which these documents are stored has date and timestamp capability, as well as version control. Collaboration information, this is just another example of collaboration information and people identifying, please pay this invoice quickly, thank you. Multiple individuals can identify what notes that they want to attach to that specific invoice. And as I said before, this can all be seen from within the voucher screen within JD Edwards. And then last but not least is, because of Café One, we're able to now go ahead and attach documents to any transaction screen within the JD Edwards solution. So let's give an example, a supplier ledger inquiry. At the supplier level, you could attach W-9 forms, whatever documents you might have for that supplier, contracts, etc., and be able to just click on the link and see them directly from within the supplier screen within JD Edwards. You could go also in the employee side. You could have, at the employee master, you could have documents such as resumes and applications, etc., that may be part of that employee's file, and see them again with a click of the mouse. And at the purchase order side, you could also have information here based on contracts or whatever you might have with a specific purchase order, and the details behind that for that supplier that you issued the purchase order to. So the ability to go ahead and attach documents, or links to documents, I should say, at any transaction screen within JD Edwards is a key capability of the solution. With this, I'm going to turn it over to Brooke. I appreciate having your time today. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Peter. All right, let me know when you can see my screen.
We're good, Brooke.
All right. Oh, is that mine? Sorry, 1 second. Just taking a second to load. Okay. Okay, I think we've got it now. Can you guys all see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry. I think it didn't switch over till just now. All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Tom and Peter, for your great presentation. Before we go into our question and answer session, I just want to cover a few follow-up items, and then we'll get to some questions. All right, so our webcast today is part of GSI's free ongoing educational webcast series on JD Edwards. And our upcoming webcasts are currently listed on the screen, but like I said earlier, we are adding more every single day. So go to getgsi.com/JD Edwards webcast to view our most up-to-date schedule. Also, we have some JD Edwards Enterprise One 9.2 upgrade workshops coming up. We have Atlanta or in Orlando in September, and Dallas and Houston in October. So you can go sign up for those at getgsi.com/JD Edwards conferences and events. And in addition, we will be at InFocus as well. GSI, we are at booth 304, and Canon is at booth 300. And also be sure to join us if you are going to be at InFocus. We have a reception at the Yard House on Tuesday, August 20th, and you can register at the URL below. We do provide extensive free educational resources for the JD Edwards community, including our weekly educational webcasts, our monthly newsletter called the GSI Insider, and our online resource center where you can access our on-demand webcasts, white papers, and we also offer on-site and virtual workshops. Now, if you would like to sign up for our weekly email reminders or our upcoming webcasts or our monthly newsletter, just create an account. To access our resource center, you can go to getgsi.com, go to resources and events, and on the main menu, you can select JD Edwards. And also we have our erptalk.com, which is a forum where you can, a collaborative forum where you can get all of your questions answered regarding JD Edwards, NetSuite, ServiceNow, and so much more. All right, so let's see here. All right, our first question, Tom and Peter, we have from Renee, and she says, how is Orchestrator used in the example presented?
So, again, as I mentioned, Orchestrator can be used if you're looking from a security perspective. Orchestrator can be used as part of simply integrating the data from the Canon solution into JD Edwards. Orchestrator/notifications can be used to let management know when people have approved their work within Canon and created the information within JD Edwards. So it can be, a tool where management can make sure that individuals are processing their information. Can also be used to then turn around and invoke the application for people to see. So, orchestrations, notifications, the integration aspect of Canon, a lot of different things that can be done within the JD Edwards system for proactive versus reactive type of analytics.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Tom. All right. And our next question is from Mark, and he just asked if this will be available afterwards. And yes, we will have it available on our resource center, as well as we will send out a link with the presentation and the recording from today. Don't forget, you still can submit some questions if you just click the GoToWebinar console panel. If you minimized it before, you can push it back out by clicking the left-facing arrow key. But as of right now, that looks like it's it. Thank you so much, Peter and Tom, for your great presentation today, and everybody for your questions. And as a follow-up from today's webcast, we ask that you complete a short one-minute survey when you exit, and you will be receiving an email with a link to our resource center on our website where you can access the recording from today's webcast as well as a copy of the presentation.
So Brooke, I think a question snuck in while you were recapping stuff.
I just saw that. So, okay, so we've got another question here from Robert, and Robert says, what file types can Canon handle in the inbound process? Also, if a file is embedded in an email, how does that process work?
A good question. We support multiple file types as far as extraction from an invoice from an email message. So it could be not only a PDF, but a JPEG, could be a Word document, it could be an Excel file, a number of different ways that invoices might be submitted. It also could be in the body of the email itself. So in other words, if they just copied it into the body of the email, we can also extract it off of the body of the email as well. I think the rest of your question was, I'm trying to remember now, besides the different format types. Was there another part of that question?
Yeah, if it's, he was asking if it's embedded in an email.
Right.
Yeah,
so it looks like
I answered that question. We do extract it if it's embedded in the email into the body of the email. I think that's what he might have been asking.
Yep. Okay, great.
So
We
multiple ways of extracting that invoice off of an email.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Peter. We have another question from Sai. And Sai says, could you please elaborate more on notifications and what is the difference between notifications and old Work Center messages?
Great. Okay. And again, that is another good question. Old Work Center messages literally were just driven by a process and driven by the business function itself. So if you think about doing a nightly update in sales order entry and something failed, a Work Center message would go to that individual that ran that process. So if it was an automated process, it might be, JDE system, and somebody would have to sign on as that ID to look at that message. Now, notifications can be created and they could be sent to any number of people by the use of a subscription where you subscribe to the notification, and the notification can include pre-text and post-text information. So now you can say something like batch number and whatever it was that failed has failed in order update, please go in and correct it. And you could even include the link to the application that the individual would need to go to fix the record. So it's a lot more robust. Your notifications have their own, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, landing page where you can now see notifications grouped by different criteria, grouped by, subscriber or subscription list. You can look at the ones that are X days old, or, the ones that haven't been acted upon. So that screen I showed you with that notification pane in the middle, your notifications become a lot more dynamic in that they can go to many more different people. They can include links to other applications, or they can include links to reports and things of that nature. So now it's simply not just a, hey, this failed, and now you have to remember what to do to fix it. And with the latest tools release, you see that you have pre-built notifications already delivered with the tools release. I suggest that if in fact you do have that tools release, that you go in and you at least start to play with notifications. Remember one thing, notifications are a UDO. If you have tools release 9.2.3.4 and you say, Tom, I don't see them, you may not see them because you don't have access to them. Everything is delivered locked down. You have to make sure you're granted access so you can go and act on the UDO.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
And just for your, yeah, and I'm sorry, Brooke. And just as an FYI, say there's, GSI, we're going to be doing a lot of workshops and webinars on Orchestrator and notifications within the next couple of months. So just give us a couple of months to get it all together, and then we'll be having a party with notifications
at a city near you. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom and Peter, for your answers there, and everybody for your questions. Just a reminder too, after today's webcast, we will do the drawing for the $25 Amazon gift card, and anyone that attended the entire webcast will be eligible, and we will notify the winner. If you have any follow-up questions, you can contact myself, Tom, or Peter, and our contact information is currently listed on the screen. And we thank you all again for attending, and we hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Brooke. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Brooke. Thanks, Tom.
Bye-bye.